Michael and Mary Gross both graduated from Williams in 2002. Michael with a degree in computer science and Barry with a degree in music. They may not have known it at the time, but their professional futures took a significant turn when Michael enrolled in Professor E.J. Johnson's Art History 101 course in the fall of 1999. Disappointed by the inability of the slides to convey the spatial quality of the architecture, Michael approached Professor Johnson with the idea of creating virtual tours that would allow users to feel the actual inside the buildings. Subsequently, Michael and Barry began producing panoramic images of historic architecture during the spring of their senior year as part of a collaboration with Professor Johnson. They photographed the 16th century Palazzo del Te in Mantova, Italy, that became hugely successful as a teaching tool in Art History 101 classes that fall. Since 2002, the courses have photographed almost 1,300 panoramas from 115 historic architectural and cultural heritage sites around Europe and America, in one of the biggest collections of its kind. Today, they've created 72 virtual tour sites from the tour sites they photographed initially, and making use of a recent financial contribution from the Williams community. In the coming months, Michael and Barry will finalize the virtual tours of the remaining 43 buildings and create an innovative database-driven interface that will greatly enhance the usability of the tours. So they formed their own company, Gross Media, and with their large and growing experience in this work, they become known as leaders in their field. In the spring of 2006, Michael and Barry were appointed visiting fellows at the Institute for Advanced Technology and the Humanities at the University of Virginia. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce Michael and Barry Gross.
Hello, I'm Michael.
I'm Barry.
So this is a picture of the Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul, Turkey, and you can hear the call to prayer. We're standing on a minaret, and we have a bird's eye view of the city. And this just gives you a real quick sense of what we've done.
The sound that you're hearing actually occurred while we were photographing this shot, and it was the midday call to prayer, which we could hear coming from minarets and mosques all around the city.
So we'd like to tell the story of how we got started in this high-resolution digital panoramic photography, and as well the story of how the technology advanced. Well, we've always loved anything to do with technology, computers, audio, video, photography. Our father, who worked at Digital Equipment Corporation, would bring home terminals, the DEC VT100, which we would attempt to connect to the internet with our 2400 baud modem. And that was back when the internet was just text-based, all text menus, no Internet Explorer, no Safari, anything like that. But we've always been gear nuts. We've been interested in how things work. We'd take things apart just to put them back together again. In middle school, Apple came out with the 2GS, which really was the first computer to advance graphics and sound. The very first digital photograph that we saw was this baboon. And it just blew my mind. I had no idea how anything like this could happen. Paint Shop Pro, we learned how to draw little pictures. And we worked with a program called HyperCard, which was an early version of hyperlinked pages. So we created, this is in middle school, we created a virtual Facebook of our class. Every student had a picture and a little blurb about them, and all the pages were hyperlinked and connected together. And so that was really our first digital media project. So we fast forward to high school, and a new program had come out called Photoshop, and that really opened the door with digital photography. We were editors of our high school yearbook, which was the first all digitally produced yearbook in the nation. And as a side project, we were fooling around with a new technology called QuickTime Virtual Reality, which allowed us to create a moving panoramic image. This is 1997, 1 year after this technology came out. So fast forward again to Williams College. In 1999, I was a sophomore in E.J. Johnson's art history course, and he was teaching with faded faded sepia tone slides, and I thought to myself, well, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a panoramic image that showed you the whole building, not just one detail? So I approached, at the urging of Ava Gruden, I approached EJ and I said, well, I've done a virtual tour of our high school, and I'd love to show you. Maybe, possibly, we could do some panoramas of some famous buildings that you're showing us. He said, great, sounds good. Let's go for it. And so we applied for a grant at the Center for Technology in the Arts and Humanities, which is now called the Faculty Center for Media Technologies. It's located in the Spencer Building. So we applied for the grant. We were denied. Junior year came around. We both went to study abroad. Barry went to Australia for a year. I went to Rome to study art history in Italy. And I came back just really, really excited about architecture, really jazzed on the technology. So I approached Professor Johnson again and said, hey, let's really try to do this. And he said, okay, let's go for a grant again. And it was successful. So that spring, our senior year, spring semester, we did a prototype of the Thompson Memorial Chapel. And then we planned for the main focus of the semester project, which was the Palazzo del Te in Mantua, Italy. So over spring break, Andrew Keating, our fellow classmate, Barry and I, flew to Italy. Here he is. So on the right, Andrew Keating, Professor Johnson, myself, Barry, and the director of the palace,
Ugo Bazzotti.
Ugo Bazzotti. So we spent 10 days photographing the palace, brought it back, and spent the rest of the semester and into the summer putting it together for use in the fall semester. We were really operating on a shoestring budget with all borrowed equipment, a video camera borrowed from the art department, a G3 laptop PowerBook borrowed from the library. Well, we certainly enjoyed the food there. Where are we? And what we were doing was creating cylindrical panoramas, which essentially you have to imagine yourself within a cylinder, a large cylinder, and you can see the walls around you. There's no ceiling, there's no floor. So here's an example. The one problem with the cylindrical panoramas is you can't see the ceiling or the floor. And what is most interesting about the Palazzo del Te are the frescoes that are in the domes of the rooms, and you just simply can't see them. So what we had to improvise, and what we ended up doing was literally taking our tripod, turning it sideways, holding it up on the table, and doing a panorama this way instead of this way. And that allowed us to see the ceiling. When looking at the walls, it's tilted, but when you look up at the dome, it comes into alignment.
Looking straight up here, and then you can swing around and see the floor, but it's all sideways, so it's not very useful.
Well, we've always been inspired by the world around us and the natural world. We've always been interested in music. Here's Barry playing a gig in New York City. In surfing, fishing. Here I am with my steelhead #1. Hiking. There's our fellow classmate Jordan Engel in the Dolomites. Biking, traveling, seeing the world around us. And I remember when I was sitting in my common room at Williams watching a documentary about Alaska, and it dawned on me, someone made this movie, and I can make movies like this. I can make photographs like this. So I said, let's do this. Let's go for it. So graduation came. I had to figure out what to do in the real world. So with fellow classmate Maggie Clark, who's sitting right here, class of 2002, and Steve Taylor, we started our own documentary video company in New Haven, Connecticut. Barry?
I was working with a surgeon, a vascular surgeon at Beth Israel in Boston. I was videotaping him cutting people open. So we're always trying to keep up with the latest technology and the advances, and some new technology came out that allowed us to actually see the ceiling. It's called a cubic panorama. So instead of imagining yourself inside a cylinder, you have to imagine yourself inside a big box with a front, back, left, right, and then a top and a bottom. So we learned how to do how to incorporate this technology. And when E.J. Johnson that winter approached Maggie and I and said, we've come across a grant, let's go to Germany and shoot some more buildings, we said, sure, let's do it. So we went to Bavaria and shot 4 Rococo buildings. This is one of them. It's the Neresheim Abbey. We also learned how to incorporate audio.
So the organ was playing as we were photographing. And EJ was thrilled. This building has extremely complicated structure with ovals in the domes and the cornice that juts out, and he's always had a hard time explaining it. And he said, finally, now I have something that I can use to show this building.
He also likes to demonstrate the 11-second delay after the organ finishes.
The echo.
You can hear that if I skip forward here.
So on this trip, we shot 4 Rococo buildings, and we finished a few days early, so we shot down to Rome and photographed San Carlo alle Quattro Fontane and San Andrea al Quirinale, a Bernini and Borromini Rococo church. So what we had under our belts now was a collection of 4 Rococo churches, 2 high Baroque churches, 1 Mannerist palace, and 1 early Renaissance cathedral. It was a collection of 8 buildings, and it dawned on us that not only did we have a really cool tool, a really cool model of the Palazzo del Te, but what we were actually doing was creating a new way of teaching architecture. No other school had this type of program for an introductory art history course. So Williams College, that has always been the leader in art history, was now breaking new ground. And the best part about it is students have access to this on their computers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from their dorm rooms, from anywhere. So then the next step was look for more funding. EJ was on board. Everybody was ready to do it. We had a goal to shoot Europe. We wanted to round out the survey course, the Art History 101 course. So we spent a year looking for grants. And during that year, the Williams Alumni Review wrote an article about the project. Shortly thereafter, Denise Littlefield-Sobel, class of 75, contacted EJ and said, I'd be interested in helping to support the project. So by Thanksgiving that year, we had a grant in hand and began planning a large 6-month trip to Europe, followed by 2 months in America to photograph over 115 sites. With new gear in hand, we flew to Paris, and the trip was on.
So we began by driving straight to Venice, where EJ was on a sabbatical. And you can see here Michael and EJ going over floor plans and mapping out exactly what viewpoints we were going to take panoramas from. And that was a whole day. We got through everything. We tried to get our bearings there in Venice. There's Michael and Anna.
So we ended up shooting several Palladian churches, San Giorgio Maggiore. This is an image of the process of taking a panorama. So you might be wondering, how do we create these panoramic images? Well, the process is actually